We got some people here today, and we got some clips of some people who are not really happy with the capitalism game. We have people giving their opinions about what they believe has affected the world at large and obviously where they stand in it. And a lot of people are saying they're not really looking to play it anymore. They're not looking to really be a part of it. They're saying that nothing's really been as beneficial completely in certain instances. So I'm just going to run through some clips, hear what people are saying, have some breakdowns. If you like the video, please like the video. It helps spread what one is doing. And let's get into it.
I was thinking about how an app that shall remain nameless has recently fallen off. And then that led me down a wormhole that, like, kind of everything has fallen off. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, Mike, what's fallen off? Just all of it. Just everything. Every product, every experience, it's all fallen off. Because this is what happens in a completely unchecked capitalistic culture, is that things are not allowed to be good. As soon as they get good, they get popular. And then once they get popular, big money comes in and goes, hey, congrats on making something popular. Now give us it so that we can extract as much value as possible and also ruin it. When every aspect of our society is allowed to be profitized, then corporations will come in and absolutely suck the life force out of it like a bunch of vampires. It's why everything does not feel human anymore. It's the same reason why going to the doctor feels the same as going to a McDonald's. It's the same reason that every single movie is a spin-off or an unnecessary sequel, because they're sitting in writing rooms and the corporations are being like, hey, we really need a sequel to this. And the writers are just like, we don't really have anything else to talk about. And they're just like, well, if you want to feed your kids, you're going to make a sequel to this. It's the same reason why candy just tastes like cancer now, because it was once good and they're just like, how do we make this for less money? Oh, I have an idea. Let's throw a bunch of chemicals in it. This is what happens when capitalism goes completely unchecked. But here's the positive spin, is that it also creates a lot of opportunity, that you can create your own thing, that you can make good so that it becomes popular and then gets eaten up by a bigger fish and destroyed. But that's the circle of life.
His view is not, completely far-fetched. This obviously having some truths in it in terms of obviously seeing how things have changed over the years. He mentioned films. You see the way films have changed. Films that become, in my opinion, monotonous. Nothing that is really as groundbreaking as it used to be. Remember back in the day, you used to have people who were like, I'm not saying this is needed today, but you used to have box office stars, box office films, big budgets, the whole, press around it. Everything was just superstar-like, right? You had moments where things seemed more original, even if they were always taking things from different, eras and putting it into whatever era, they were in. At least you had a little bit more, in my opinion, originality. Everything is always taken from different areas and eras. And for me, I just felt when I was growing up in the 90s, particularly, there were differences. And capitalism has always been a thing. It's just the fact that as time has gone on, we've seen decline in quality of things. We've seen, as you said, a lot of remakes. We've seen a lot of things in just other parts of society where the people up top have benefited, the people in the system who have really, I would say understood what it takes to be able to get to that point. I just made the normal person be the ones that are, benefiting the main corporations. But we have a choice. We also have a choice to say, I'm not going to compete or participate completely in it. You have a lot of people doing movements and being, movements in like minimalism and things of that nature, and starting to live outside of, the typical norm, living in, I'm not saying you have to do this, but living in different small environments, like, caravans and off-site. So a lot of people are getting into that kind of, way of saying, look, I'm not invested in this anymore. But the game, I think, is just about trying to benefit yourself, trying to see how you can, as you said, maximize something for your own benefit, because it gets to the point where you start seeing, as time goes on, the class is just disintegrating. Ruling class is going to be even more of a thing, and then it will just be the normal working class. Middle class will be eventually cut out as time as, it's more or less done. You know what I mean? As time has gone on. So what he's saying is not far-fetched. It has some definite truths in it, but it's just the fact that, the average person has to look at what they think of it. And if they want to continually be, a pawn in the system, and if they want to continually just be accepting of it, because as long as they are getting what they need, paying the bills and doing what they have to do, they're fine. It's just the fact that it's a problem when the classes start increasing and the space in between them starts increasing continuously. You start thinking, if you really want to look at it and start saying, look, why am I just in this environment and I'm not, getting to it as well? I'm not getting the resources that is available as well, because we all, as human beings, have the capacity. We've been created with, I believe, abilities to say, look, what do we think? What do we have that we can bring to the table as well? And I think what he's saying is very much true. It's just how you perceive it,
I want y'all to be prepared when I say this, but please hear me out. We're going to have to get used to the idea of people joining different career fields for the love of money, okay? We have reached end stage capitalism where people don't have a choice or an option to go to school and do things for a passion anymore, okay? You're going to see more people getting into fields that are going to promise them a job and that's going to promise them high pay in order for them to survive, okay? We're past the point of doing things for passion. Yes, some people still have that privilege, but a lot of people don't, okay? Let's just be honest. A lot of people do not. So when you start seeing people in healthcare and they're not showing a passion for it, I'm not justifying it. But what I am saying is be in the know and know that this is going to be way more normalized and this is going to be way more common because people are trying to survive. I feel like we're already seeing it when it comes to customer service. We have already seen prices go up in almost every establishment, but customer service has dwindled down to the point where not only do people, they don't reach you, they don't ask you if you need any help. Some people are very rude, very snarky. When you try to call into customer service hotlines, you don't even get a human half the time. You speaking to AI. Some places don't even have humans there. Like, we're just being groomed to accept the bare minimum. And I feel like it starts with customer service. It's already started with customer service, but we're going to see it get to the point where it's going to be in teaching. You're going to see it in healthcare. You're going to see it across all forms. And I know you're going to be like, well, teachers don't make a lot of money, but people are going to be doing things to get jobs that are available.
But you know what? People have been doing that for a while, taking jobs for decades, because of the fact that they need it, having to forego what they've studied, in the university or, whatever level they've studied, and having to, get what they can get for the meantime sometimes, because markets and different, moments in time, there's always been issues with the economy. And that has always been a thing, I would say. But she's not far off. It's just the fact that people getting jobs just as a quick fix has always been a thing. And then obviously, as she's saying, the quality, the effort diminishes once, the mentality of businesses is to just continually keep trying to increase revenue and profit without, the focus on quality. Sometimes you see, sometimes even products, you go to certain stores and you're like, these products look a bit wear and tear. Sometimes grocery stores, you see them and you're like, but why is the prices increasing? Oh, they're going to say it's because of how they have to produce it and, the ways they have to obviously source it, and obviously the people that they source it from, they're going to increase prices because they've got larger demand, and you're going to use all of these reasons. But the point is, a lot of the time, quality diminishes when the focus is only on trying to get the most you can get, financially. There's no harm in making money. There's no harm, in my opinion, of making, a profit. It's just how you go about for the betterment of the people that you're supposed to be serving. Because without the people, the general person, businesses don't move, so it's important that quality is not sacrificed. And that's what I've seen over time, quality, sacrifice, man. And the people are accepting it. The people are accepting it because, look, you have the ease of using services now on your phone. That ease has made people just become so even more comfortable to the fact that, look, okay, there's issues. Okay, there's this capitalism thing, but I'm getting what I need at the moment. And because of the ease of using certain services, that's another thing. That makes people even more dumbed down to not even think too much about, okay, what is really an issue? until maybe, as they say, ish hits the fan in their lives personally, then maybe people will start looking at things and saying, look, what's really going on here? The diminishing of quality of products and of services and of systems, is being even more apparent. So, yeah, people will always be in that position of trying to get a job quickly or foregoing their passion, or maybe having their passion working, on the side just to be able to maintain. Because, yeah, some people do degrees or some people do certain professions because they know, look, I can just get to the money. But then sometimes they end up being not too happy in those environments, being a little bit miserable, and then obviously sometimes wanting to say, look, I quit and then now I'm doing something else, and then it turns out sometimes they may, be even more in a better state mentally. So, yeah, man, I think with this nature that humans have of always wanting to, get more and do more and take over, that's some of the issues. Sometimes it's not really, if you really think of it, it's not really capitalism per se. It's the mentality of some of these big corporations and some people who want to just subdue everything and try and gain as much power and control as possible, increase the distance between class so they can make the assessments and control, resources and how things should go. It's the mentality to just try and always take. That's the problem, really, I would say, as opposed to just what capitalism entails is how far you push it. It's how far you sacrifice quality, how far you push it to try and maybe get certain people to do work for you for cheap. You go to different parts of the world, some of the things that you're hearing and seeing and understanding and realizing that some products, where they're getting it from, who is actually creating these products, the ages of certain people working in these environments, the young people, the conditions. So you got to get into all of those things as to why it's an issue, So these are the things that people need to look at. She said customer service. I know what she means. I've worked in those environments, and yeah, it's one of those ones where you can definitely see some, in moments, some issues. But the people can only make their decision, and the people can only say what they want to do and what they don't want to do. Guarantee if the people say, look, I'm not playing certain games anymore, you will see it pinch a lot of these big businesses and big corporations. But people are just so much in a monotonous state in life that they don't even think. As long as they can pay their bills, they're happy. And that's what generally is wanted, from the people that really are gaining from this system.
It costs money to die, bro. Like, how do you put a price on death? Like, bro, what? There was a nigga who really existed and looked at extreme water and said, what if this shit had a price tag on it? And now we gotta pay for water. Nigga, this is hell, bro. This is hell to me, my nigga. We gotta pay for water? Like, what the fuck, bro? Like, imagine, like, before you, like, imagine whatever, we're in the spirit realm before we get to Earth, wherever the fuck we are. And, like, there's basically, like, a guy, they say, and, like, they tell you, before you get to Earth, I gotta let you know, you gotta pay for the water. Yo, why the fuck did I not say no? Like, real shit, my nigga, why the fuck did I come here, bro? This weak-ass planet, bro, fuck this.
Tired of the system. He's talking about, look, why is water even something you have to buy? It's something that has, you can source naturally. Well, these are all resources that we have naturally. Well, why you have to, put prices on things? That's basically what he's saying. He's like, look, I'm tired of this. He's saying, look, even before I came, why did I even choose to even come here? No, you came here because that's the way the world works. God created you. He created you to be able to come here and do what you have to do for your benefit. And then obviously it'll benefit others if it's something that is actually beneficial. So you can still do your thing and do what's required and maneuver how you want to maneuver, especially if you've got the abilities that, you work on, because it gets to that point where you start questioning the system more and more. If you, like I say, if you really want to think and not just be led by the monotonous nature of life and how easy services are these days to use, how easy services are, to use. You look at what he's saying. Yes, it's in a comedic way, but he's actually making it 100% true. Like all these systems that have been put in place, it's not really needed, to be fair. It's just someone, all those years ago decided, look, this is where it's going to be. And this is what people are going to adhere to, Back in the day, how you used to make food and how you used to source food was totally different to it being in shops being created, and how you used to have your own place to be able to plant, and you can still do it, but how you used to do that back in the day is totally different now. You don't need to. You have to go to shops. And that's where the main, changes have taken place. How you maneuver on this earth, how you maintain and how you survive. And that's where people's gripes are, because you actually think of it. You're like, but most of this stuff is all natural anyway. Even some of the medical, environments, they take natural stuff and then they mix it up with all these other chemicals, for medicines. And a lot of it is obviously derived from natural, resources. So it's all a game, and it's all a game that if you really deep it, some people are rushing in life. And it's like, some people don't even get to experience life enough because you're rushing every day in this environment of paying for the stuff that are all natural, paying for stuff that the system has said, look, we have to create this environment in order for things to maneuver in this way. And everyone's just, I have to get this, or I have to get this to be able to live, and I have to do. And sometimes you're stressing yourself thinking, for what? What's the real benefit? Stacking up all this stuff that you can't even take with you anyway. So you might as well do what's required as much as you can while one is here. So, at that point where you're completely frustrated like this guy. But I don't blame him. He's just looking at it from a logical standpoint. Why should I have to pay for water? He said even death is expensive. It is. To go to these funeral homes and funeral environments is expensive. So even the thought of that is crazy, but that's the system. That's the system. You've got to look at it from certain perspectives. What can one do to gain for themselves as well? What can the average person do to gain? That's what people have to look at.
I don't want to do this anymore. I'm tired. I've had breakdowns, not just mental, not just emotional, but because I see it clearly now. This is all a really fucked up, out-of-date game. Money isn't even real. Debt, credit scores, rent, mortgages, they are pieces of paper or numbers on a screen. None of it is real. But the consequences, those are real. On us. And this game only exists so a few people can feel powerful. Their entire identity is status. And the only way they feel something is when they're dominating other people. And we're all supposed to just play along. Work ourselves in the ground, lose our minds so they can keep this fantasy going. I'm tired of living in a world where survival is a game. Tired of pretending this is normal.
What he's saying is nowhere near, far-fetched. He's saying stuff that actually make logical sense. It's at a point where, he's tired of playing the game, man. He's tired of waking up, going to work, playing, putting on all the, the airs and the face expressions to, act like you're involved in the system. And, you go to work, you do what you do, you smile, you talk, you handle business. But at the same time, it's like, look, you're still walking around and you see the diminishing qualities of things and of people's moods and vibes. And it's like, yeah, it's something that, if you really look at it as he's saying, he really assessed it like, look, people up top, it's a power game. It's a power game. Countries, it's a power game. It's a resource game. It's a ability to make, things happen in the ways they want, to try and control the most aspects of how the world runs. So the general average person has to always look at it like, okay, what ways can I try and chop some resources as well? And, but also look at it, if you believe capitalism is a problem, also look at it of what quality can you bring so you're not succumbing to the typical issues that you believe has been brought by the system and its, institutions. Because if you come in and do your own thing, are you going to eventually get to that point where maybe you become a big business and you start doing the same things that they're doing, that you're complaining of? So it's just about looking at ways where one can improve their standing, but also see that, look, there are issues. How do you circumvent that and then get what you need to get? Because that's what it has to be about, man. Because a lot of the time it's a power game. Companies, big, companies want to keep taking as much control resources as they can, Again, multiplying and doing things of that nature and increasing is not really the issue. It's always at the expense of others in ways where you're diminishing people's quality that they receive, and also the people that actually work to create some of these products and things. Are they at a disadvantage? Are they being, treated in the right way? You know, are they in the right state they need to be in? Because a lot of those questions need to be answered, and that's where I think people have a gripe of as well. But yeah, man, he's not far off. He's not wrong. He's 100% true. But there's also some comments. One lady says we should all stop playing their game. But the thing is, it sounds good, but are you going to? We should all stop playing. You guarantee everyone in certain countries, developed countries, like, look, you're not going to work for a week. The whole system says that. People ain't going to even commit to a week because people are going to be scared. Oh, what if I lose the job? No. Say if everyone is on one accord, says we're all not going to play their game for a week. It ain't going to happen because people are too, ingrained in the system and what it entails and the fear factor that it can come with. Oh, I might lose my job. Oh, how am I going to do this? No, the point is we're all not going to move. So don't question that. But it won't happen. We all should stop playing the game. Everyone is going to have their own agenda and their own, oh, no, I can't do this because if I do this, I think this will happen to me. So there will always be an issue with that. But it's possible. It's possible just to test, see what these big businesses really are about and realize who's really putting money in their pockets. None of it is real and it's literally killing us, someone says. JK. And then another person says, if you think the USA is bad, wait till you see the UK. And this person is not far off as well. This person said it as it is. Let's get into it.
Late-stage capitalism is the point at which a profit-driven system has exhausted all easy avenues for growth and begins to cannibalize its own society in order to continue extracting profits.
Welcome to end-stage capitalism, where consumer society shows its cracks and the system eats itself in plain sight. Here are 5 signs we're living it. Overproduction with no one left to buy. Companies flood the market with goods, but wages haven't kept up, so the shelves are full and wallets are empty. Debt becomes the business model. Consumers are trapped in cycles of credit just to survive, fueling the economy with borrowed time and borrowed money. Everything becomes a product. Your attention, your data, your hobbies, everything is monetized. Even rest is packaged as a service. Corporate power trumps democracy. Regulations are written by the regulated and the public interest is sidelined by private profit. Public services decay while wealth accumulates at the top. Roads crumble, schools suffer, healthcare costs soar, and billionaires launch themselves into space.
Western European countries like the UK feel it more compared to the US because the UK has a service-dominated economy, not a production economy. A service-based economy hits its limit first because you can't endlessly financialize services without eventually degrading quality. The West demonizes communism for censorship, state violence, and authoritarianism. But those are not inherent to communism. They are characteristics of bad governments in general. Just like slavery, Jim Crow, the Native American genocide, and the massacre of more than 1 million Iraqi civilians are characteristics of bad government and does not define capitalism. China's 20-year trajectory versus the West's 20-year stagnation suggests that state-managed economies may outperform mature capitalist ones past a certain stage. Capitalism is based on maximizing profit. This means that without government oversight, owners of businesses will always do whatever maximizes profits, even if it's not in the interest of the citizens of the country. If hiring workers from developing countries is cheaper and makes more profits, that is what a good business owner will do. If establishing your businesses in a developing country to take advantage of cheap labor, cheap services, and cheap raw materials increases your profits, that is what is ideal for a business owner to do. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, multimillionaires and billionaires became rich by solving an existing problem for mankind and profiting from it, e.g. Windows by Microsoft. Now, multimillionaires get rich not by inventing something that solves a problem for us, but by buying or getting a license for something that already exists. Sometimes something we used to get for free and charging us an exorbitant price for it. A simple example is watching football in the UK. We used to watch football for free in the UK. Now, to watch football, you have to pay 3 companies: Sky Sports, TNT Sports, and Amazon Prime. a total of more than £100, and still not watch all the matches in the season. To watch all your favorite shows on TV, you have to have Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Apple TV. This list is not exhaustive in any way. What about passenger train services? The UK has more than 20 train operators who bought licenses from the government to use train tracks and train stations that our tax is paid for. And they charge us cutthroat prices to use these trains. These prices are so expensive that it is cheaper to take a flight to another country in Europe than to take a train in the UK. Late-stage capitalism is so apparent in the UK that even a visitor from a supposed third world country notices it. The first thing they notice is that the UK is so underwhelming. Nothing is ever worth the money you pay for it. Nor are the facilities provided by the government worth the taxes you pay. Nothing. Not the trains, not the hotels, not the restaurants, not the theme parks, not the roads, not the houses. The houses are a joke, an unfunny joke. Not the hospitals, not the schools, not the universities. Every single thing in the UK is underwhelming.
I think that's a very good breakdown of capitalism, in terms of the effects, particularly in the UK. Him mentioning the UK being a service-based economy as opposed to a production economy is where the issues lie. Once you're not one of those ones that's really producing, homegrown stuff, then that's where you're going to always source stuff. And then, you're going to always be in debt or in receipt of, stuff that people can charge from different countries at the prices that they believe are, in line with inflation or what they believe the fees they want to add to it. So there's going to be always issues when you're that kind of, country or an environment. But what he mentioned and the breakdown was pretty good because it was accurate in terms of how the process works in this UK country and how it differs from a China, for example, and why the increase and the upscaling of China has taken place in many facets in industries that, help that country. So it's at that point where if you're in certain places of the world, the Western society, you've got to look at it and start thinking, okay, what is making sense now? For, again, I go back to it about the average person who is looking to, gain something that is more than just the norm and also things that can help maybe their family down the line, because if the big players are doing what they've done over these years, then one has to try and get their hand in it as well, because what is the point? What is the point if, you hear these kinds of things and think there's no other way? Now there is. So just has to look into it. But there was a comment on this video as well from a guy called Kieran. He says, late stage capitalism is just when the state owns half the economy. But then there was also a response from the person who created this video said, no, it's when billionaires and their corporation own everything. When everything that can be privatized has been privatized. So that's it there and then. That's it right there. It's just that simple. So you want to try and get as much as you can while you breathe, man. Come on, you do. But not at the expense of quality and not at the expense of obviously, harming people to actually get what it is you need, because that's where you're acting a little bit too crazy and that's where you need to be summoned. Telling you. So that's what's important. Doing things in ways where at least you're maximizing, its potential and maximizing the benefits to people, but at the same time, not taking advantage.
For decades, British capitalism has run on a simple promise. Work hard, keep your head down, and one day you'll have a decent life. But that promise is dead, because for young people, no matter how hard they work, they're not going to get what their parents had. Today, there are 1 million people not in education, employment, or training, most of them young people. Labour calls them work shy. But young people aren't checking out because they're lazy. They're checking out because the economy is rigged against them. Instead of fixing the economy, Labour's latest idea is to punish young people who can't find work after 18 months of unemployment and pay private businesses to exploit them. That's effectively a massive corporate subsidy dressed up as tough love. The reality is that the vast majority of people living in poverty are in work. The issue is that massive corporations are exploiting people with low pay and zero-hour contracts that barely let them make ends meet. Labour promised to ban those contracts, but backed down because the big business lobby told them to. Then there's housing. Reeves and Starmer's generation benefited from cheap credit and a housing bubble that meant their properties doubled or even tripled in value over the course of their working lives. The generation before that benefited from cheap and readily available social housing. Our generation has neither. Young people get moldy flats, predatory landlords, and rents that swallow half their paycheck. And then there's the enshittification of everyday life. Austerity gutted public services. Youth centres, libraries, community spaces have all closed down. People can't go out anymore because they don't have the time or the money. So instead, they're at home scrolling, often living with their parents, trying to numb the sense that something has gone deeply wrong. Not because they're lazy, but because they feel utterly hopeless. Add up all these factors and it becomes much easier to see why young people aren't working as much as their parents did. Economic participation has become a trap, leaving people stuck between low pay, astronomical housing costs, collapsing public services, and the disappearance of meaningful social connection. Why should anyone participate in an economy that gives them nothing back? Why grind yourself down for a job with no security, no future, and no hope? Why participate in a system designed to keep you stressed, isolated, and broke? Asking these questions doesn't make you lazy or irresponsible. It's a rational response to an economic system that doesn't work in your interests.
And it never was designed, the system, for the average person's interest. It never was that. So once that is understood even more, then obviously, hopefully one can move in the ways they want to move and try and see what they can do for their benefit. Because at the end of the day, the system is just a way for you to just get by and to make what you can make. And if you manage to figure out the game and start moving up, then, hey, you've done that. Good for you. That's what it basically is. If you manage to get through, you can then say, or they can then say, oh, but look, someone else did it. He's from or she's from a working class environment. You know, you can all do. You just need to do. It's not like that. You know, you may see people at a certain percentage get through, but it's never ever going to be, as much as the world turns, at the rates that are required, you know, for it to really be a thing where you can say, look, it's possible. You know, it is, but the mentality has been indoctrinated from childhood of how you believe the system is for you, you know, and some people are too far gone. And the system is still being told to people today that way, that if you do this, you do this, you do that, you'll get it. You'll get to a certain level. You'll be this. Yes, it can happen, but it's for the people that figure out the game themselves. And that's what this system makes you, or should make you do, figure it out yourself. The people that are managing to play the game or work in a certain position and play the game, whether it's getting promoted, being a certain way in the office so you can be liked and all of these things, or you set up the business that you think of and it works, or you just have to understand the system is not for you and accept what it is, you know. And what she is saying is 100% true, and even when it comes to young people, you know, and the sort of viewpoints that are levied at them, you know, thinking as if they all don't want to do anything. Yeah, they don't now, because not all, but they don't, a lot of them, because they're being disillusioned with a lot of the ways that they've been lied to. You see them either finish being a student and sometimes can't even get positions that are within their course that they study.
The UK is taking so many immigrants is not because they're trying to be good people or anything like that. And I can't believe that the bigoted people in the UK still don't understand why the UK is bringing in so many immigrants. Literally has to do with the UK trying to eliminate middle class. They literally just want to have rich people and poor people. They don't want to have a middle. And immigrants is exactly how they're going to do it, because they're going to bring in these people from third world countries that will accept very low salaries and work very long hours and will do the jobs that British people in the UK would never do. And because they're accepting these minuscule wages, they will be making the rich people so much money. Like, have you ever seen a rich British person ever complain about immigrants? They would never complain about it because they know at the end of the day it's going to benefit them.
That's another part and parcel, assessment basically of capitalism, more or less, acquire people at a certain rate and at a certain level, so they can do what's required, so people can keep chopping as much as they can, at the top, for the finances that they want, get as much as you can people in, so they can keep chopping as much dough they can get. That's it. It's just that simple. I think all this, beef I see online about, they're coming into the country, they're doing this. The average person doesn't know what they're talking about, really. They just see people from a different background and they don't want to have them there. And that's not to say you should have everyone coming in just untoward. But the point is, you're getting it twisted as to why, in my opinion, they're here. What she was saying, you do some research, you do some, Googles on these things, and you realize that it's always been about trying to get as much as one can. It's always been about that. The people that have set up this system that, people make money from. It's always been about trying to get as much. So how do you do that? You can't just do that for the average citizen who will see a lot of the time, through the lines, who read between the lines. They'll get people from abroad. So a lot of the time people are getting mad, oh, this, that, and the other. Yeah, but you're not seeing exactly why they're here. You just think the border issue is just a thing by chance. Oh, why is there so many people coming from abroad? To be able to, make more money for the economy at a lower rate that they will earn. And then obviously they can make more profits. So you got to look at these things. And it's not just by chance. So when people are, frustrated about it, especially the British, you're not going to see what you don't really look at properly. You're just going to look at immigrants and get mad at just immigrants. No, it's the system that's allowing it. It's the government that's allowing it, as if they don't know who's coming in and as if they don't know the magnitude of this. This has all been something that has been accepted. It's all been accepted. It's not something that is just by chance. So the people that are mad at it, you have to be looking at your government, which I'm sure people are doing, but you also have to assess as to why, and the main issues is the illegal aspects of things, right? That's the main issue. In terms of immigrants coming, it's been happening for decades, right? Windrush generation, first early generation of that taking place. But the main issue is the illegal aspects of it. But I don't think it's just the illegal aspects. It's just you don't want people from a different country coming in, irrespective, even if they turn out to be legal. That's what I also believe as well. But the point is to make, as much as they can from, the system, the people up top. And then they will put in the media a different reason as to why there is an issue with immigrants. But you're not looking at who's opened the doors for it. It's your government. And improve our debt ratio and all of these things. Improve the standing of the country in ways where it's at the expense of people's safety a lot of the time and service quality. So these are the things you got to look at. But yeah, I thought I'll look into this. I thought I'll just bring some clips, people's gripes and people's explanations of the effects of capitalism and what they believe are some of the issues. And then obviously, I want to hear what people think, what people's mentalities are, what people's thoughts are about the nature of capitalism, and if they believe it's the mentality of people and it's the ideologies of people that really affect capitalism in a negative way, as opposed to just the word capitalism. Is it more often the people who are in charge or the people that make moves in certain ways that nullify quality of service and nullify the importance of people first, to try and get as much as they can get. But what do you guys think? Let me know.